welcome, guys, to our first preseason podcast. Not preseason. I said first team review podcast for last season. So this is going to be a Chelsea review podcast slash look ahead to next season. The topic should be going through is Chelsea's best player and best goal. We kind of know who that is. All the high points and low points for Chelsea fans. Expectation for next season, and if Frankie at the wheel, will be successful. And we have two Chelsea fans here. One who is delighted to the moon that they made a manager change, Mr. Idris, Nicotine Daddy, aka Antim Yellow Skin. That's what I just put as David and sorry in, sorry out at the same time. Man, this guy, my nickname for you is Flip Flop. So we'll start with David.
Yeah.
What was Hazard's? We just keep to that. Hazard was Chelsea's best player, obviously.
Yeah.
So, what was his best goal? Chelsea has.
It's funny because I was going off of the last game played, but I think Idris had already kind of started before we started recording. Had started mentioning it. I think his best goal, hands down, last season was the one against Liverpool, where he started off with the nutmeg and then just kind of ran off through the right wing and then just kind of went in and then slammed it in. So yeah, that was definitely his best goal of the season.
Was that Premier League goal? Remind me again. Was that Premier League goal?
It was a Premier League goal. He had another one against Watford, which I think the reason why I think it was one of his best goals was because that was a game that, looking back at it now, it was almost over, and we were probably not going to get more than a point out of that game. And he snuck in a last-minute goal from coming in from the left wing, cut in, and then shot through the bodies and then snuck it into the post. So those are my top two goals. And yes, he is the best player for the season, obviously, by far. 16 goals, 15 assists. Next in line is Pedro, 8 goals and 2 assists. So, unquestionable.
Yeah, nice. Idris, chime in.
I totally agree, David. Absolutely. The goal against Liverpool. The reason I was even asking was this season was so far, like in the beginning of the season, and you're like, well, that happened, right? And there were so many other highlights that happened. The West Ham goal, Watford was very key and important, as I said, because without that, we possibly wouldn't be in the top 4, as you mentioned. Not to be too much on it, those are I would say my two. I would say yes, the Liverpool, the Watford he mentioned because of how crucial that was, and for me the West Ham goal that he just walked.
Yeah, I agree, and that was what I was going to say. For me, just as a neutral, I always like Hazard. I won't say I'm neutral. I like Hazard. I've always said that, just because of how technically gifted he is, and I think it takes a lot of slack from a lot of people that should be scoring more, blah blah. That goal against West Ham, regardless of its West Ham being on the pitch, that goal was. It's probably only Hazard in the Premiership
that would do that.
That can score a goal like that. It's probably Hazard that can score that kind of goal. Probably the closest person who obviously needs to up his game and maybe can score goals like that by the time he hits his peak, he's still learning the games. Martial. That's the only other person I can think that can score with that close control. The close control that he has between his feet. I don't think there's anybody in the Prem that has that kind of close control like that. With that quickness. So I'll say, or maybe Mane. But I think it's only Martial with footwork. So jumping to the next question, staying with Idris. All your high points and low points. 3 minutes.
3 minutes, I would say.
2 minutes. I'll show you the 2 minutes. Because 3 minutes for Idris, 10 minutes. So 2 minutes.
10 minutes. So I would say my lowest point. My highest point. I'll start with the highest point. The highest point was winning the Europa Cup.
Yeah, be optimistic. You start with high then.
Yeah. The highest point was winning the Europa Cup. Secondly, would be beating Manchester City in the beginning of the season. That gave us an insight to what we were capable of doing with the kind of resources we had. So we were totally on a high, like a massive high that, no, we got this. Even if we were not expecting to win, we got this, was the mental state. Like, Lowest point, my brother. I would say started for me the lowest of low, and when I started my rant and I couldn't stop and I just think I had enough was Bournemouth 4-0. That for me was the moment I realized that like you can't. I don't say you can't train, you can't teach a old dog new tricks. I just felt this guy displayed the definition of insanity, and I don't want to go deep into it because you already know how I feel about it. And and we had just won the League Cup, and we had lost already to Leicester City. We had tied with Southampton. We had lost the League Cup, a first leg League Cup game, I guess, to Tottenham. We had lost to Arsenal. Arsenal that had showed us that they could beat us the first game of the season if this system did not work out. Everything to show whoever was in charge, all the gaps and loopholes were there. Huddersfield, we had beat 5-0, then come to losing to City 6-0. 6-0 with City for me was stamping that like, hey, this guy is mad. But the Bournemouth one was, wow, everybody could see this. Why couldn't? To me, that was the lowest of the low. That made me feel like he had set up even Jorginho to fail, in all fairness, because Jorginho is a good player. So that for me was the lowest point.
Yeah. David.
Yeah, I second what he said. I think the highest point of the season was obviously finishing with a trophy, winning the Europa, and winning it with class. We outplayed Arsenal in that game, and there were some goals that I only score in FIFA, and Drew scooping that ball up and then having a slam in the net. That was pretty excellent. I'd say there's a few other high points in the season that are not as high as that. Obviously, securing top four early on, once we recognized that, okay, we're safe now. That was good. And then the other one was Morata getting loaned away. So that was a high point. I can't stand it. Low points for the season. The 6-0 defeat to Man City. I remember watching that game and just thinking to myself, man, we'll be lucky to finish like top six. And we had just been there, we had pretty much gotten wrecked by Bournemouth as well. So things were not going, and I didn't see Sarri making adjustments to the team. So I was really frustrated. I was irritated at what he was. I understood, that's why you said I'm a flip flop man, because the reality is Chelsea plays without an identity, and Sarri was coming in to try to break that mold, and he was doing some really drastic things to force that identity to happen. And
Okay.
so I recognized it, and that's why I'm Sarri in, but I'm a frustrated person with Sarri. So anyway, I think that was the lowest point of the season, and just kind of watching, knowing that there's a few tweaks that needed to happen with the formation of the team, and that it wasn't happening. But we snuck through, thankfully, because Arsenal and Manchester United and even Spurs capitulated.
So when you see hindsight 2020 now, right? When you look at the hindsight 2020, right? This is just a quick. Do you think you overreacted? Hindsight 2020. Then I'll
Ooh,
ask you the same.
No,
David,
No,
oh,
let me ask you first. Then I'll come to
yeah,
Idris.
I don't think the fans in general were wrong to react the way that they did, kind of watching the stubbornness. But, some of us recognize what was happening underneath the
Okay.
covers, right? Like, you can find my posts online where I said, I see what he's trying to do, and I understand that he's trying to build an identity. And the reality is, Lampard coming in he's not inheriting the same team or ideology that Sarri inherited. He's coming in with a team that's started a transformation. You could see some video highlights of Jorginho's play. He just didn't get any assists because people were screwing it up. Like how Lampard is inheriting a much better Chelsea than what Sarri inherited, even
Okay.
though he doesn't have Hazard. Even
Okay.
though he doesn't have Hazard, that's my opinion because the style of play, the possession style of play, the build up is there. What we lacked was the final third finishing.
Okay. Makes sense. I mean, and so just to clarify, my question when I mean overreaction is coaches get criticized, coaches make mistakes. That's understandable. Fans get frustrated. The overreaction, and I always go back to that. People maybe misquote me, don't understand what I mean. I do not. I never understood how you turn on the manager. I mean, and say the manager should leave halfway into his first season. That's my only grounds. The fact this is his
Yeah,
first
yeah,
season,
yeah. Yes,
and it
that's an
started well.
overreaction.
If he started like say how Frank de Boer like just losing games, I get that. Like, oh, this is a terrible
Oh
mistake.
no, no.
It
Nobody
started.
should have been asking for Sarri out at all. I actually never wanted him out. Even though you call me a flip flopper, I never did. I was frustrated with the man, but I
Just
wanted the man. Yeah, I wanted the man to stay in charge for another season at least because I knew he was working on something. He had a project, right?
yeah.
I'll pay $1 million. I don't have $1 million, but I'll pay $10 to see what's in his notes that he takes every game. I'm just
I
curious.
guess fans in the stadium, I didn't understand that when they turned on him like that. I mean, like, so you guys can have opinion, that's fine. Like Chelsea fans at Stamford Bridge were calling for a sack. That part is what I never understood. Like, this is
Yeah, I
after
mean,
his first season.
Idris, maybe you can explain. Explain here.
Idris,
um, being, be,
Idris, I'm timing you. You have to
yeah.
have bring that clock for you.
When it comes to Sarri, he always times me because he knows how my blood boils with that man. I would say being being at Stamford Bridge a few times, and I would say I've watched at least a minimum of 5 games. I can't remember how many, but a minimum of 5 games at the bridge, and I've heard the way the fans chant, the side comments, and yes, you're on some of the things they say about Chelsea fans, especially when we heard about the Sterling situation. I kind of could see how it could have happened. You remember, so I kind of have a feel of what kind of people I see there, and also being online in the Chelsea rumor blogs and stuff like that, and how they think and stuff. That being said, um, Sarri was an easy target, unfortunately, for everybody in terms of he's trying to implement an ideology, as David had said, and yeah, we did see what he was trying to do. I think what frustrated Chelsea, we also need to look past before this season. This set of players, unlike our solid Mourinho-esque first bunch of Chelsea players, this set of players from the Oscar, Willian, Pedro, Hazard, um, have always been very inconsistent with what they've been offering us. They would usually have like massive highs where they would take us to the Premier League title. Then the next season, it's almost like all or nothing. They would just go 10th. And you're like, are these not the same guys? It's not the same coach. What happened? Then the next season, you see them again back into, the cusp of winning again or in the top four. Then the next season they're like 10th again. They're like, what's going on? So I think Chelsea fans were already tired of that up and down. Chelsea fans
Yeah.
were kind of, oh yes, already tired of some revolving door of the manager, but they were really hoping for someone that would bring in the youth, would play some attractive football, not the pragmatic style of football, but also communicate with the fans. If you notice, the fans fell in love with Antonio Conte first game. Even when he was getting fired, everybody realized, okay, it's bad blood between the technical director, the owner of the club, I mean the board. Everybody knew this was just they couldn't keep him on because of the clash. Sarri's stubbornness, his unwillingness to change. If he
30
had even
seconds. 30
yeah, 8 seconds,
seconds.
sorry. If he had changed, I assure you, majority of the people screaming Sarri out would want him to stay because he did earn his second season.
Okay. Fair enough. One thing I'm going to say though, and this is where I'll come back to this, like same thing point you make. Another just one kind of said something about this stubbornness and not likability.
And
One thing
Arsenal
I'm going to
fan.
say, no, no, that's not fan. I'm not Chelsea fan. We talked about this. One thing I'm going to say is just to end it off. If things don't go well for Lampard, right? I want to see the same level of energy. I really want to see it. I do not want to see from Chelsea fans doing because he's a legend, nostalgia, which we are suffering from the same thing right now, right? So we're suffering from which is a thing that fans do. I want to see this same level of energy because then you know that it wasn't for footballing reasons, in my opinion. Then
Well,
like
let me
they turned on sorry. It wasn't for
no,
football.
let me interject there. The reason why it would probably be different, and I think Idris, you made a post earlier today when I was like, I wonder if the Frankie Ball people are gonna come, hound me like the 4th year. I mean, the pure difference is going to be that Lampard, even if he's not doing well,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't expect. I mean, that's the next question. We'll see. But he's going to try to tweak the system and try to do game management and move things around and just kind of see that. I think that when the fans see that, like, that's all they wanted from Sarri, right? And Sarri was like, no, you're not gonna get that from me. You're gonna keep getting what I'm offering you, the same thing, right?
True.
It's almost like the definition of madness. Like, keep
Yes.
doing the
Okay.
same thing, expecting different results,
I'll,
and
I'll,
that's
I'll
what
counter that.
Lampard's going to do.
So go
Okay,
ahead.
go ahead.
Counter. It's the funny thing about this thing when people say this chicken, I always laugh a lot. The greatest managers, right? All the greatest managers have a philosophy of how they play, and they don't change it. Pep
Uh-huh.
Guardiola, plays his 4-3-3. He wants his wing backs to stay high up, or
Right.
his full backs or the wingers to spread the play. It didn't really work for them first season, but then he identified where the problems were and he got it and changed. He changed it
Okay.
and it worked like magic. Like the whole tweaking thing, in my opinion, right? Those things more often than not are very overrated. Emery played like 3-4 systems last season. You know Emery. It's, and he's a good coach. He's a good manager. Troll apart,
Yeah.
he's a good manager. It didn't work out for him.
But if you notice, the fans were not like Emery out. They
No,
were
no,
like,
no,
we need the
at the
ball
end
to
of the day,
back Emery.
at the end of the day, Idris, this is a result-oriented business, right?
Absolutely.
It
So,
definitely is.
so
Yeah.
if you look at the hard code facts, this is my point, and I told people this. Emery is no, he had played like three, he played 3-5-2, he played 3-4. It changed things a lot. And same Arsenal fans, the thing you are complaining about, right, that you wanted. Arsenal fans online, like, if you go follow 90 minutes, troops, all of them complain that he changed things too much. Do you hear my point? The same thing
Yeah.
you are
No, but we're not even asking for a formation change. Like we weren't even necessarily asking for a formation change. I think you have a world class CDM, right? And you're playing him as a right forward, right? And
The
so like
most
right.
expensive player on the
And
pitch.
this guy's won the World Cup. He's won the Premier League with two different teams.
right,
He's he just knows how to clean up the defense, right?
right.
And so
That's
essentially, we were just saying, try. Why don't you try to leverage him for that pivot role that you really wanted to do, and then what happens with an Angola Conte playing Jorginho's role? He might not be able to give the distribution that Jorginho can, but what he does offer the team is they can push forward and be more like much higher up on the field because Conte is going to sweep up and try to help clean up mistakes. And that's
correct.
all we were asking for simple basic tweaks like that, not necessarily go change the
Formation
formation and
change.
play a whole
Fair
different
point.
thing, right?
Fair point.
So,
But I see where I'll counter that point though. Kante,
okay.
hold on.
Yeah,
Kante,
Okay,
play contact.
before,
Kante played this, yeah.
before you counter him, I will
on,
support what
on
David.
Conte's last season. Kante played his natural role. Chelsea still fumbled. Am I?
Fair
Am I? Am
enough.
I
No,
yeah,
fair enough.
exactly. That's
Fair,
what I was.
no,
Kante played his role the season that you guys finished fifth. He played his role. He didn't change anything.
fair enough. But at the same time, again, as I said, our high
Let's
in the
try
season
it.
is when we beat Man City, and everyone was even saying cover Jorginho. Like that,
Okay.
that guy needed protection. At least even if you want to play 4-3-3 and you came 4-2, 4-2-3-1, or for whatever you want to play, cover Jorginho. Let Jorginho not be a liability. It was
Okay.
obvious. So we were getting shredded for the most basic tweak that we're asking for, as David is saying. This is a gap. This is a
Yeah,
problem.
most of the
Fix it.
goals we conceded were counterattacks,
Idris, have you
right?
have you guys see that? I agree with you guys. So I'm just being devil's advocate, right?
Which
On it,
stats?
and
No, I
not even
agree
start.
with you.
Not start.
Yeah.
Have you considered that the fact that Jorginho was adapting to the specific task Sarri wanted for him, and also the pace, the pressure of the Premiership? Because he came from
And
Italian.
that's why you protect him. That is why you
No,
protect
Well,
hold on,
and
hold on.
I think that what we wanted was in the process of the getting him to adapt, because every player should at least and every coach should at least have 2 seasons. That's my opinion, right?
All right,
Uh,
yes,
I think that all we were asking for was don't jeopardize our season. Like if Arsenal and Manchester United didn't completely screw themselves over, we would not have made top four, and now we would have gotten Champions League by beating Arsenal finally, right? But that would have left it for the last opportunity.
I can. You know why I never like to use that those things that you always say. You know why I never like to use that. It's like saying Leicester. If the whole top 16s hadn't captured in 2016, Leicester doesn't win the league. Does that take anything away from Leicester winning the league? Everybody says
no.
that's a magical season, right? Same thing for you guys. If Pep's first season, if those guys were not old and couldn't understand what he wanted to do, we Conte have won the league. So I don't like using this kind of metrics.
But
Chelsea
it's,
at the end
Yeah,
of the
but
day,
it's a
understand,
had most
factor.
points.
understandable.
It's a factor, though. It's a factor you cannot.
No, it's
Not.
not.
It's a massive
It's not.
factor.
But
It's a
let's
massive
move on.
factor. Okay.
Let's move on. Let's
Okay.
drag on. Let's move on.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
same with David. Next season, league
yeah.
position, and what are your expectations generally from Chelsea?
I think that the rebuild was partially started by Sarri and not
Okay.
really completed, and now we've swept that off completely. And now Lampard's going to come in and try to, unite the fans and the club and the players. The reality is Chelsea is going to struggle without, Hazard. had 16 goals, 15 assists. The guy was he single-handedly created a lot of opportunities for us
Correct.
that didn't get converted. So I think next season Chelsea would be lucky to finish like sixth or fifth. If you sneak
Lucky,
into top, huh?
lucky to be sixth or fifth.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I mean, I think Wolves like just like right now, Wolves and like who are the like I mean, our defense can be shambolic sometimes, right?
Okay.
So there's still things that I don't know. Like if we start scoring goals, if Lampard is able to unlock the forwards and get like maybe this guy Tammy Abraham or this young Scottish kid
Pulisic. The
or
Pulisic.
but yeah, but Hazard is better than Pulisic and he
No,
can
we know.
carry the team, right? So I mean he did carry the team, but Pulisic can't fill his shoes right away. So I think that if we were gonna be shooting for like a sixth or fifth finish, is I
Wow.
think that would be a success for Lampard.
Okay.
I don't. I think we'll start strong and falter.
Yeah. So what's your minimum expect? So your minimum is fifth or sixth.
That's what I expect.
So
We'll
the
see.
type of football, like what do you expect? Attacking,
I think
counter-attacking.
attacking football. I think it's going to be attacking football. It's not going to be pragmatic. It's going to
Okay.
be which will make our defense really, a
Vulnerable.
liability if they cannot be covered. So I don't know how
Okay.
he's going to set up, but based off of what I've been watching, the two preseason games, you can tell, and he said it too, right? It's not just me saying it. He said he wants his team to be all energy, stamina, running, and just pressure. So he's kind of trying to build up this Liverpool's type of football as well at
Okay.
Chelsea. So we'll see.
Idris, expectations league for next season, league position performance.
For me, it's the same thing David's saying. We're on the same page here. I actually just go a little lower to seventh position. So anywhere we can hang in there to get into the Europa League. And these are no
Yes,
excuses.
club, man. I'm not having this.
No. But again, we've touched all the reasons why Chelsea will possibly finish around that Europa League spot, and it's simple. We've just gotten rid of one of the most dynamic and best players we have in the league in Hazard. Again, I sent you a stat where he scored 49. He was involved in 49% of our goal, directly involved. If he wasn't scoring, he assisted. In that kind of stat, Ronaldo left Real Madrid, and we all know what happened to them in terms of losing 50 goals a season. It's very hard to. I mean, you could, if as David also said, if Chelsea wasn't the kind of team, I mean, if Chelsea was like Antonio Conte's team that was very solid and does not concede goals, maybe 1-0, 2-0 works. But we are very liable to concede goals because of the expansive way we are going to be playing. So if that's the case, and we do not have somebody that gave us that kind of involvement in Hazard, that would put even Sarri, who would have probably, let's say he didn't choose to go to Juventus to stay, I would still say Sarri would be around that seventh to first position. I wouldn't be unfair to him saying I expect him to compete because it's impossible with the
I
kind of
disagree.
talent that we have. And also the fact that he cannot sign players. So all that are facts, and with aging wingers that we have in Pedro and Willian, they're good, but they're aging, and we also know this season they've regressed a lot. But then again, not an excuse. These are facts. This is what any coach will come in and have to work with. With Lampard playing an expansive football, dynamic enough to play pragmatic when needed, and he's shown that in this preseason with the Farmers Club that we've played. But willing to allow players play their positions and also fight on high tempo, almost replicate what Liverpool is doing slash Pep. You know what? Like if we can get the attackers scoring, like Missy Batshuayi was looking like a god today, Tammy Abraham was okay, Giroud is looking good based on the game they played this morning. If we get that kind of game in the season, well, you know what? We'll be lucky if we crack top four. But if top four does not work, seventh and Europa Cup, then we have to win Europa Cup next season. He gets his two transfer windows. For me as a Chelsea fan, I don't think that's stooping so low. I think that's just being rational.
Okay. So I guess one thing I forgot to ask was because now I remember you guys are in Champions League. What's your expectation on Champions League? Like second round, quarter final.
We
Group
will
Like
drop
stage.
back
I
to
think.
Europa and win it.
I think we'll probably we'll
David.
we'll be lucky to. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, no high expectations. That we might not make it out of group stage
True.
for Champions League. I think we might drop right back to Europa. Is what I think will happen.
And you need to also understand this. We have a very, very, very young team. We have a
So three of
very,
us will be in
very
Europa together.
we'll come back
Yeah,
to
I
Europa and
mean,
win
That would be
it.
interesting.
We'll
Manchester
win
United,
it.
Arsenal, Chelsea, Europa League.
yeah,
Oh my goodness.
Of which we'll
yeah.
win it again if we were there.
Okay, stay with Idris.
Yes, sir.
In 1 minute, just tell me, do you think Frank Lampard, will be a success?
Yes, I do believe it's a success.
Okay. Why do you think so?
Based on the way he's
In
played at
one
Derby,
minute.
1 minute. Based on the way he has played at Derby, based on the fact that he can be pragmatic when he needs to be pragmatic,
Yeah.
based on what I've seen with the way he's set up the team and how ruthless he was even after the first game to send 8 players back to London, 8 players that came through the academy. I do believe he will be a success. The club has also promised him to back him up in the transfer seasons. Um, and just quick examples within my 1 minute is we've had Ruud Gullit. The first time I supported Chelsea was the first black coach that I saw was in charge, was on the helm, and I felt some kind of affiliation. Celestin Babayaro was there. I said this, I was captain. I felt, oh, this is the kind of club where I feel my people do well. So Ruud Gullit became coach, and he won us the FA Cup. Viali did the same thing, and they did not have as much experience as anybody would have before. AVB was failed. Yes, we do understand that. But Di Matteo didn't have as much experience and won us the Champions League. So I couldn't see any reason why anybody would think Frank Lampard would be anything less than possibly a success with the kind of talent he has now and very flexible, the kind of flexible approach he has to tactics.
Right. David.
Yeah, I think he'll be a success. I mean, if you look at what the Chelsea board is trying to do, it's pretty obvious, right? They pulled Petacek back as the technical director. They're pulling all these people back that really resonate with the fans and their current players. And so what's happening is that the fans are excited. They feel like it's a to quote some of you guys, a family club. you know,
Hey, that's only for Manchester United. You don't. That's
okay.
big to us. Come on, don't
Okay.
create your own
So, but
phrase.
like this is unlike Chelsea right now so far. What they're doing, right?
True.
They're taking risks.
Yeah.
They recognize that they don't have the ability to go in the market and get players that they want. They recognize that there's a rebuild that needs to happen and an identity that needs to happen. They recognize that there's a disconnect between the board, the fans, the players. There's a lot of things happening, and they're making the right moves because emotions play a really huge role
Yeah.
in motivation. You know, if
Yeah.
the fans are yelling and supporting and being positive, that energizes the players. If the players look up to their manager and respect him, that energizes them. So, overall, I think, this takes some level of pressure off of Lampard to perform, because you have folks like us that would have probably chewed out like any high level manager coming in and have high expectations. So yeah, he will succeed. I don't think it's going to happen the first season, but he's not going to feel the pressure of the exit door looming right away. So that should make it good.
Yeah. All interesting. Just to wrap up, I guess all our questions on the podcast. My opinion, from looking from outside, is I it'd be interesting to see how Chelsea manage the situation very well because I've always looked at Chelsea. I would say Chelsea is a very wrong club. They've always been like a Chelsea to me has been like the McKinsey of football clubs. They are very ruthless. They identify what they want. They go for it when it's players, managers. And I always like envied it, even though I never publicly voice it. But they've always been. Now they're veering towards this other side of where they want to take a former legend, see let's back him. Let's let's wait. Let's be patient. What I would like to see is when those two graphs cross when if he struggles, and when I mean struggle, not struggle like 6-7 is not struggle. If, for example, this project tanks majorly, like mid-table, 10th, 11, I would like to see the decision making of this backing that they are claiming they're back because it's easy to back, right? When things are fairly going well, it's easy to see all these things. I would like to see what happens, and this goes even to my club, Manchester United, right? I would like to see this backing when mid-table, the fans are mad. I was not happy. I would like to see this backing. What happens? What decision they make then? That would tell me Did he really want to do it, or this was just, you know what, this is a legend. He won't come. Like, let's put him there. We have a transfer ban. He loves the club. If things are going bad, he won't do like a Mourinho and throw the club under the bus. He won't do, he won't be toxic. Let me use that word. He won't be toxic. So, but if this thing doesn't go out right, easily we can just talk to him. Hey, bros, yeah, you tried, no problem. You can come back in a couple of years. Let's go and get our experience. Let's go back to what we know. I would like to see if Chelsea does that. That's just my. I do not know.
Wait, you want to see the backing, or you want to see the
I would like
energy of firing?
Yes, I'd like to see what they do. I don't know if they're backing. I can't tell if this is for real. Do you get my point? I can't tell if backing is for real, or it's just like a let's just paint over.
I actually think he'll be back. I actually think he'll be back for this for two reasons. If you look at AVB, before AVB was fired, it had to be so toxic for him to go, right? Then we went through our carousel of managers and we brought back Mourinho, right? And even before Mourinho was sacked too, it had to be toxic.
Okay.
With Sarri didn't really have a toxic relationship with the board or owners. The fans were the problem with Sarri, right? And they were still willing to keep Sarri till the next season.
Correct.
You understand? So he was one that decided to leave. And I believe for that reason alone, I think the board is aware. I mean, the way the board tried so hard to keep Hudson-Odoi, tried and put pressure on Sarri to play Hudson-Odoi, and put pressure to play Loftus-Cheek, tried so hard to while they were even bungling up the transfer ban appeal, you could see they were really, as David said, they were really trying to do the right things. And I think this has been in the pipeline for a while. It just so happened that Sarri decided to leave. It's happening now. They know Frank Lampard will play expansive football. He's not going to deviate too far from Sarri, because today Jorginho played the register role today in a 4-4-2 formation. In a 4-4-2 formation today. So it's interesting to realize, I think they've realized this is what it is. This is what we got. We got a young manager. We're going to back him in 2 transfer seasons. He flew to France to get that specific commitment from Abramovich. You will get 2 transfer seasons, meaning as long as you don't relegate the team or you don't give us a really, really shitty below 10 season, you're going to get to buy players January and summer. So
yeah, he's gonna, at a minimum, he'll get the chance to build his own team. With some kind of money. That much I can tell you. When that happens, after that happens,
then all bets are off.
He's walking away with like a pretty big resume update.
Yeah.
A big team. So
this
is good. It's a win-win altogether. But I think that at that point in time, the board will fire him if things don't work out.
It's true. It's Chelsea.
It's business. It's still business and a club at the same time. Right, it's Chelsea. That's just realistic.
Okay. Just to make that clear, this doesn't mean we're not going to come with and throw you guys. If you guys don't think
started, man.
I'm just get ready.
I saw what you try to do. I saw what you try to do, my last king brother, this morning. You guys been like Frankie Ball. I was like, wait. Even if me and David spar, I would not allow you guys to throw this guy under the bus.
You can't never. We've already set ourselves up for low expectations. We did that last season. Last season when I talked to you, I was like, maybe 6th at best for Chelsea, and then we finished third.
Also, you have no record here saying this. Even if it was Sarri, my expectations would still be low, because he would be inheriting a situation that he couldn't really do anything about. Losing Hazard, 2 players that came through for him last season are injured, Odoi and Loftus-Cheek. Rudiger, very important, is injured. And he can't buy players. So, I mean, what do we really expect? Let's be honest. No, I don't know. I mean, what Antonio Conte did to this squad and won that league was unbelievable, fam. Let's not assume that was normal.
Okay. So real quick, let's just do one trivia, just one question, because we're at 35 minutes and I want to stick 30 minutes. So, which 2 managers? I'll start with David. Which 2 managers started their reign by going unbeaten? For 12, it's very easy for 12 league games. So it's
Antonio Conte.
This season, no.
This season.
Last season, yes, sir.
Oh. Okay.
12 games.
Yes.
Jurgen Klopp. Pep Guardiola.
Wrong. Idris, you're wrong. Idris.
I would say Sarri and Jurgen Klopp.
You got Sarri.
Yeah.
Do you want to try the second manager, David?
Watford guy. What's his name?
Nuno?
Yeah. Is that
No.
it?
So simple. You guys troll us every time. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Come on, what's wrong with you guys?
No, he was 10. He was 10.
I said no, it was 12.
He was 12. He came to my mind the first.
9 wins, 3 draws. Yeah, it was 12.
Oh, I actually thought it was 10 games.
That's when Pogba was unlocked briefly.
Yeah, exactly. It
was a 30-day trial unlock, man.
Exactly. 60 days. 60-day trial. So that's expired now. This was fun, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll probably reconvene again for another one. I guess maybe closer to the season starts, maybe if possible. Yeah, we might not do anything for Chelsea because you guys are not buying players anyway. So